Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm thrilled to have you here for this session, which is all about one of the most vital professional skills mastering the language you use in your oral presentations. Today, we are focusing on how to communicate effectively, especially in contexts like poster presentations. The words you choose, the tone you project, these aren't just details, they are the foundation of your professional credibility. First, you will be able to identify the key features of professional language in any oral presentation setting. Second, you will learn to apply the appropriate tone, vocabulary, and structure for clear professional communication. First, you will identify the key features of professional language in oral presentations. Second, you will apply appropriate tone, vocabulary, and structure professional communication. Third, you will demonstrate clarity, politeness, and confidence when presenting ideas. This is where theory turns into practice. Now, let's focus on why the language you choose is so critical in any professional setting. It's not just about conveying information, it's about shaping your entire professional image. First and foremost, your language reflects your credibility and competence. If you use precise, domain specific terminology correctly and speak formally, you signal to your audience that you are an expert who takes their work seriously. Conversely, informal language, slang, or vague vocabulary that quickly undermine professional standing. Second, effective professional language helps maintain audience engagement and understanding. Using clear, precise, and concise language prevents confusion and keeps listener following your logical flow. If your language is too complex or too simple, you risk losing their attention or miscommunicating your core findings. Third, your choice of words build rapport and conveys confidence. Using a polite and respectful tone and perhaps even some courteous interaction phrases makes the audience feel valued and open to your message. When you speak clearly and formally, it naturally projects an image of self-assurance and authority. And finally, the language you select shapes how your message is perceived by professionals. If your message is objective, free of emotional language, and well structured, it will be viewed as rigorous and reliable. Essentially, the language you use determines the value and weight assigned to your ideas by your peers and industry experts. In summary, the right professional language is your strongest tool for establishing trust, ensuring understanding, and elevating the perceived quality of your entire presentations. To ensure your language meets professional standards, it must possess five key features. Think of these as the fundamental rules for effective presentation communication. The first rule is clarity. This means you must use precise and straightforward language. Your goal is to be understood immediately, not to impress with complex vocabulary. Avoid vague terms or jargons that your specific audience might not know. Your words should perfectly mirror your meaning. Next is formality. You need to maintain a respectful and polite tone throughout your talk. Remember, this is a professional context, not a casual chat. This tone shows respect for your audience and for the presentation environment. Third, strive for objectivity. Professional discourse is based on evidence and facts. Therefore, you must avoid slang and emotional language. Stick to what the data shows. An objective tone builds trust in your findings, whereas emotional language can make your argument seem biased. Fourth is conciseness. This is all about respecting your audience time. Avoid unnecessary words or repetition. Get straight to the point. Every sentence you speak should add value. If you can say it in 10 words, don't use 20. Finally, we have coherence. This feature ensures that your presentation is easy to follow from start to finish. You must ensure logical flow and connection of ideas. Use professional transitional phrases to guide your audience smoothly between sections so they never get lost. By focusing on these 5 features: clarity, formality, objectivity, conciseness, and coherence, you will transform your spoken language into a professional, effective presentation tool. The first 30 seconds of your presentation sets the tone for everything that follows. Using formal and polite language right away establishes your professional standing and respect for the audience. Always begin with a strong formal greeting instead of casual "Hi everyone." Use the following professional phrasing: "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen," or "Good afternoon," depending on the day. Following your greeting, express gratitude to the audience for attending. "Thank you for attending my talk." Right? "Thank you for being here." Right? Then you got to introduce yourself and the topic. Right? For example, my name is Latisha. I'm going to talk about the beautiful police. Next, you need to transition smoothly into your subject matter. Use phrases that convey enthusiasm and professionalism. You can introduce your pleasure in sharing your work by saying, "I'm pleased to have the opportunity to share the beautiful police with you." Immediately follow this with a clear, concise statement of your presentation scope. This acts as an agenda and prepares the audience. The purpose of this presentation is to persuade you to visit police. By using these 4 phrases, you ensure your presentation starts with the clarity, formality, and confidence required in a professional setting. When presenting your research, whether it's a chart, a set of results, or a complex concept, you must use objective and authoritative language. These phrases help you introduce data without being overly personal or informal. When you introduce a graph, table, or any visual aids, use a formal verb like illustrates rather than a casual one like shows. For example, this chart illustrates. When discussing your study's outcome, use professional phrases that emphasize what the evidence suggests rather than what you simply think. For instance, the results indicate that. Our findings suggest that. This is particularly useful when talking about your own research. It's common to need to simplify complex data for your audience. Use these phrases to clearly bridge the gap between your raw data and its meaning. To offer a clear interpretation of a point, say, "What this means is." If you recognize that a concept is particularly dense, you can politely simplify it for your audience using "to put it simply." Using this vocabulary ensures your explanation data is precise, objective, and easy for your professional audience to digest. A professional presentation must flow logically. You need clear signposts, transitional phrases to guide your audience smoothly from one idea to the next. These phrases prevent your presentation from sounding choppy or disorganized. When you are ready to conclude one topic and introduce the next one, use a clear signal. Moving on to the next point. This is a straightforward and effective way to change direction. To introduce a supporting ideas or add more detail without interrupting the main topic, use additive phrases. In addition to that, moreover, professional presentations often require comparing data or showing cause and effect. So use these phrases to manage those connections. For example, when you introduce a differing viewpoint or conflicting results, use "on the other hand." To explain the results or outcome of a previous point, use a consequential phrase like "as a result," "consequently," "therefore." Just as important as moving on is signaling that you are wrapping up a section. This helps your audience mentally transition and prepare for the next topic by using "to summarize this section." This ensures your audience know the discussion point is complete and reinforces the principle of conciseness. By using these cohesive terms, you maintain a strong, logical narrative that keeps your audience engaged and make your overall argument much more persuasive. In a professional presentation, it's not enough just to state facts. You must also persuasively communicate the importance of those facts. These phrases are powerful tools for emphasizing your key takeaways and showing the strength of your evidence. Use these phrases to draw attention to a point you absolutely do not want your audience to miss. This tells them, pay close attention to this. It's essential to note that this elevates a piece of information from a simple fact to a critical component of your argument. This highlights the importance of. This is an effective way to transition from your data to its real-world implication or significance. Your audience need to know that your claims are backed by solid proof. Use strong data-linked verbs to connect your conclusions directly to your results. You can do this by using this phrase. This clearly demonstrates. This is a powerful language that leaves little room for doubt regarding your interpretation. Or, our data clearly supports. This emphasizes the objectivity of your finding, reinforcing your professional credibility. While objectivity is key, you are the expert, and your professional conclusion matters. When you summarize your interpretation based on the evidence, use a phrase that conveys conviction. For instance, I strongly believe that. This is a measured way to state your professional opinion after having presented all the supporting facts. These 5 phrases allow you to move beyond simply reporting data and confidently guide your audience toward your intended conclusion, all while maintaining a highly professional tone. A professional presentation doesn't end when you finish speaking. The Q&A session is often the most important part, and your use of courteous language is essential for maintaining rapport and confidence. Always welcome questions. Always conclude your formal presentation by inviting questions in a warm and open way. This phrase encourages interaction and demonstrates that you are prepared. Please feel free to ask if anything is unclear. This is more welcoming than a simple "any question?" When an audience member asks a question, always acknowledge it positively. Even if the question is challenging, your immediate response should be polite and appreciative. For instance, that's an excellent question. By validating the question, you show respect for the person who asked it and build rapport. Sometimes a question requires a more in-depth answer than you initially planned, or you need a moment to collect your thoughts. Use a polite let-in to manage the process. Allow me to explain that further. This buys you a moment and gives the impression that you are taking a thoughtful approach, enhancing your perceived competence. Finally, it is a sign of professionalism and politeness to thank your audience, not just at the end, but for their engagement during the presentation. I appreciate your attention to this point. This can be used to thank someone for a thoughtful follow-up or when closing the Q&A session. These phrases are small but powerful ways to ensure your interaction is characterized by politeness, confidence, and respect. Now that we know what to say, let's look at the 4 biggest mistakes that can instantly undermine your professional message. These are habits we all fall into, but they must be corrected for a formal presentation. The first mistake is using informal expressions like "you guys," "cool," or "stuff" have no place in a professional context. Using them signals a lack of respect for the formality of the setting. Instead, use "ladies and gentlemen," "excellent," and "data" or "information." Always swap slang for professional vocabulary. Second, we must stop Overusing fillers like or like. These fillers distract your audience and makes you sound unprepared or nervous. The fix here is simple but takes practice. Replace the filler word with silence. A deliberate pause is always more professional than mm. The third mistake relates to your delivery. Speaking too fast or too softly. If you rush, your audience can't process the information. If you speak too quietly, they stop listening. You need to project your voice and speak at a steady, moderate pace. Record yourself practicing to identify and you correct your natural tendencies. Finally, avoid jargon without explanation. While technical terms are often necessary, you can't assume everyone in your audience shares your specialized knowledge. If you must use a specific term, introduce it clearly first. Tailor your language to the widest possible professional audience. By diligently avoiding these four common errors, you protect your professional image and ensure your message is delivered clearly and with authority. We have covered what to say, but now we tackle how to say it. Your tone and delivery are the physical embodiment of your professional language. They communicate your confidence and sincerity before you even finish a sentence. First, you must speak with confidence, not arrogance. Confidence means you believe in your data and your preparation. You speak clearly and make eye contact. Arrogance, however, involves dismissing questions as sounding condescending. Your goal is to be authoritative and self-assured by remaining humble and open to dialogue. Second, use polite and professional tone markers. This means maintaining a consistently respectful vocal pitch and pace. Avoid letting your voice get too high or fast when you are excited and avoid whispering during complex moments. Your voice should remain steady, firm, and polite, reinforcing the formal vocabulary you have chosen. Third, always match your tone with your audience. A presentation to a room full of fellow academics will allow for a slightly more technical, intense tone. However, if you're presenting to a corporate board or a group of non-specialist stakeholders, your tone should become more accessible, focus on high-level impact and takeaways. Always know who you are speaking to. Finally and critically, vary your intonation to sound engaging and sincere. A monotone voice will cause your audience to drift away no matter how good your content is. Use intonation to naturally emphasize your key findings. Raise your voice slightly when introducing a major conclusion and slow down your pace when sharing a crucial statistic. This variation keeps your voice dynamic and keeps your audience interested. Mastering these four elements ensures your delivery is as professional, thoughtful, and impactful as the language you have carefully prepared. Now that we have covered all the key concepts from formality to coherence, the next step is putting it into practice. Language skills are not passive, they require active use and repetition. So here is a brief focus exercise designed to cement this lesson. Your task is to prepare a 2-minute presentation on a relevant workplace topic. This short time frame forces you to be concise and focused, which are both hallmarks of professional communication. As you prepare this short presentation, focus specifically on three things. Focus on using clear, formal, and polite language. Think actively about replacing any informal vocabulary you might naturally use with the professional phrases we discussed. Practice transition and responses to questions. Deliberately include phrases like moving on to the next point and practice how you would answer a tough question using a polite opening like "That's an excellent question." Whether you practice this task in a group or record yourself presenting, the goal is to develop fluency and confidence in this professional style. To bring everything together, let's quickly review the essential takeaways from this entire unit on professional language. Remember the four rules. Remember these four crucial rules for every professional presentations you give. Use professional, polite, and clear language. Clarity is your top priority, supported by formality. Avoid slangs, fillers, and informal tones. Eliminate the ums and lights to maintain your credibility. Tailor your words to your professional audience. Ensure you are speaking at the correct level of formality and technicality for the people in the room. Practice for fluency and confidence. Great language is only half the battle. Flawless delivery is the other half. Here is a list of the references I use. I hope that you can use these references too. That concludes our unit on language in oral presentation within professional context. I sincerely hope these strategies give you the tools and the confidence you need to present your work effectively and professionally. Thank you for your attention.